And now, as promised, let's hear from Reform UK's deputy leader, Richard Tice, who first gave me his reaction to being the bookies' favourite now to replace Farage as leader.
New Year madness, Andrew. New Year madness. We have one brilliant leader of Reform who's going to be, hopefully, the next Prime Minister in the next general election.
But if Reform members thought they wanted to change their leader, as Elon Musk suggests they should, is there any way of that happening?
We have a new constitution, and we've now, as the second largest political party with 170,000 plus members, we're evolving. We're growing as a political party, and members have rights and will be involved in candidate selection, branches, and helping on policy.
So, going back to the origins of this, what's clearly been a breakdown in relations of some kind between Reform and Elon Musk. What's behind it, do you think? Why has he changed his mind so dramatically?
Well, that's the joy of free speech, isn't it? I mean, look, the reality
is... It's free speech, but why has it happened?
Because we can agree on some things, many things. I think Mr. Musk is a brilliant entrepreneur. I enjoy many of his products. But life would be boring if you agreed on everything. And on this particular issue, which mainly relates to whether or not we should involve Mr. Yaxley Lennon, otherwise known as Tommy Robinson, to some, in Reform. The simple answer to that is no. I made that crystal clear back in October. We want nothing to do with him. He's in jail. He's a convicted criminal. And Nigel has reaffirmed that in a very clear way, and that is that.
One of my colleagues has been told by one of your senior members that he regards Elon Musk as a far-right nut job. Do you agree?
I haven't heard that expression. I wouldn't use that expression. Mr. Musk is probably the most brilliant entrepreneur that history has seen for centuries.
He's pretty politically capricious, however, isn't he?
Well, he's clearly got politically very involved, both in the US, and he's got significant investments here, which is why he's interested here. He wants the economy to grow here. He's got, with Tesla, with X, and with Starlink, he's a very significant employer in the United Kingdom, pays hundreds of millions of taxes, and so he wants the economy to grow, and he wants the political party that's best placed to help grow it and govern it and manage it properly.
You are a patriotic man, I'm sure. You're wearing a Union flag on your lapel. So how do you feel about an American saying, as he has done today, that America should topple Britain's government?
At the end of the day, we're a sovereign, independent nation, and we can agree with Mr. Musk on certain things, and we can disagree on others. That's the joy of democracy and free speech. And as I say, look, he's a very successful entrepreneur. He's entitled to political views, as are anybody else. But fundamentally, we made it crystal clear. We have strong convictions, strong principles, how to grow and make this country great again. And no one in any way can buy us or buy our conviction. That is clear.
But exercising our mutual free speech, you think he was wrong to say that?
Oh, I do actually. Yes, I think that he's entitled to say it. But on that issue, we disagree clearly.
You have got very, very important local elections coming up when you'll be facing the Conservatives in hundreds of seats around the country, and that is probably your big opportunity to come second, at least, in a national...
First, you've got to be ambitious and optimistic.
All right, I said second, I said second, you said first, but to make big progress. And obviously your biggest enemy there is the Conservative Party in terms of the number of councillors that you're taking on. Now, if Nigel Farage and yourself have looked at the implicit offer from Elon Musk, which is here on the one hand is a huge pile of money, and here, on the other hand, is the price for it, which is that you must lean out to the far right, some of them thugs and so forth, and you have said no. Is that partly because you are thinking of Middle Britain and what Middle Britain
You
thinks?
created a hypothetical that actually doesn't exist. But the simple fact is that we want to be the next government. And to do that, we've got to convince the biggest number of people possible that we've got the right policies to get this economy back on track, to make people better off. And we think we can do that. And that's what we're totally focused on. There are, of course, this May mayoral elections. We think we're going to have a very good chance in some of those mayoral elections. We've got former Tory MP Dame Andrew Jenkins, brilliant candidate for us in Lincolnshire, where obviously I'm an MP, and elsewhere. And we don't know how many council elections are still going to exist. Many Tory councils seem to be bottling it and abandoning the elections and postponing them. But where they still exist, we will have candidates and we will be very focused on it.
One of the other people that was in this list from the betting companies about the possible next leader of Reform UK.
On the betting.
Well, it's just very interesting. I saw that one Robert Jenrick was on the list as well. And I thought, why would Robert Jenrick be on the list? But he has been tweeting over the last couple of days saying that because of, talking about the grooming gangs scandal and saying that for decades the most appalling crimes were legalised and actively covered up to prevent disorder, and saying that this has been caused by thousands of people from alien cultures with medieval attitudes towards women. Would you applaud that kind of language?
I think people get overexcised about the language. The reality is that Mr. Jenrick is correct, that political correctness over a decade plus, 2 decades, has meant that actually appalling child rape gangs have been allowed to get away with horrific acts and cowardice, total failure to live up to people's responsibilities, be it police authorities, be it council workers, be it council politicians. And that's why we actually do need a national inquiry totally focused on these grooming gangs. And there's an important distinction. The 2022 inquiry report focused on a much broader issue.
That's the Alexis J report.
That's the Alexis J report, focused on the broader sex exploitation and had very little on grooming gangs. We need a specific grooming gang inquiry that no holes barred, prompt, rapid, open and transparent, because millions of British people are utterly appalled and want to know who knew what when and what cover-ups took place where.
I mean, you just said that you said political correctness, but anxiety about community relations or whatever stopped justice being delivered.
And you cannot use community relations overriding the rape of children.
Absolutely agreed. My point was going to be that the Prime Minister himself said much the same thing earlier today and gave a fairly detailed defence of his record as DPP. Do you accept what he said?
Well, based on some information that's just been handed to me on my way here, I'm not sure the Prime Minister has given correct information, because the number of cases that were actually resolved during his tenure, he said that I think at the end of his tenure it was the highest ever. Well, that's not actually accurate. So we're checking that. I think the Prime Minister does have questions to answer, serious questions. What did he know when during his tenure? And it does feel to me you've got Jimmy Savile, you've got Mohammed Al-Fayed, you've got these child rape gangs. A lot of this stuff happened on his watch, and I think he's got to come clean with the British people.
I mean, he would say that by the time he was there, I mean, he dealt very severely with the Jimmy Savile case, and that by the time he was there,
I'm not sure that's the case at all, actually.
Well, I've watched him as DPP talking about it, but we can disagree about that. Nonetheless, I mean, he says that he did everything that he could, and that calls for Jess Phillips to be thrown into prison for complicity in mass rape and so forth are wildly over the top. We've talked about free speech. Free speech is very, very important, but so is taking responsibility for language.
Well, actually, I think that free speech is the most important. And if you are saying taking responsibility for language means you can't talk about the difficult stuff, then no, I don't accept that, actually. I think you have to say that right is right and wrong is wrong. And where wrong occurs, you call it out. And if sometimes that offends and is uncomfortable, tough.
But do you think it's fair to link Jimmy Savile, Mohammed Al-Fayed, the grooming gangs, and Keir Starmer, and suggest he's responsible for the whole thing?
No, I'm not saying he's
fair?
I'm not saying he's responsible. I'm saying all of those things, there were serious issues that were occurring on his watch. And I don't think it's good enough for him as the ultimate boss to say, it never landed on my desk, not my responsibility, Gov. And that seems to have been the approach so far.
All right, Richard Tice, thanks very, very much indeed for coming in and talking about this.